Alright, welcome back to the second part of my mapping tutorial, or the second part of my tutorial series. If you haven't already watched the first one, I suggest you go back and watch the first one just to, get the basics covered. It's going to provide you with all the tools we need and go over the basic file types and whatnot. So if you haven't watched it, go back. If you have watched it, I'm assuming you already have everything we need installed, so we're just going to go ahead and open codewalker. This tutorial is going to be about codewalker and Y types. Ymaps, not Y types. Two different things. Y types will be later on since they're a bit more advanced, but we'll get to that. So you're going to be met with this screen here, and in the meantime, while it's loading, as you can see in the bottom left, you can just hit T. We're going to get the top left menu out. We hit the right arrow to get the sidebar, and we're done loading. So what codewalker does is it basically loading in the entire world of GTA 5. It allows you to move things around, create new areas, add things, remove things, and this is all done with Y types and Y maps. So today we're just going to make something basic. It's going to provide you with the information on how to do it, and from there you can kind of work yourself up. It really all depends on time you want to put into it and how many details you want to put into it. There's a lot of small things like LODs and whatnot, but that will come later on, since that's a bit more advanced, and I cannot cover everything in just one part. So this is just going to be the most basic, which is creating a new small scene of a sort and going over making changes to a already existing scene. So the first thing you want to do is just you want to enable the select objects, which is the arrow, the mouse. You want to go to move. So from here you can select things with right click. You can move them around. As you can see, I'm moving this entire building. That really goes for most of it, because at this distance we're loading in the LODs and not the actual detailed buildings themselves. So you can see as I go out, you can see things kind of start popping. That means we're now in using a different LOD. So if I select this area, move it around, you can see I'm now moving the same building, but also this entire block up here. This is probably the furthest LOD. So if we start going close again, you can see, all right, it's going to change. So now it's going to be this building. And we go all the way close, we're going to get the most detailed one. The most detailed one is going to have a few more things on it, meaning that selecting it might be difficult. This one is not too bad, as you can see. Some of the buildings, when you select them, you're going to be selecting different parts like this. So what I suggest you do is you go to your selection in the top right here and you see the name of it. All right, so for this one, we just want to move it out of the way until we get the one we want. In this case, that is the one. We can just move the other ones back. And again, this is not the correct one. It should be this one. So that's just a small tip when you want to start moving buildings around. In this case, I don't suggest it, because moving a building like this, you're going to be left with this entire gap. So we're just going to move over here. And what we're going to make for this tutorial, we're just going to make a small barbecue kind of place. We're going to make that in the middle here. And we're going to move something like these benches around for, let's see, these benches, maybe this bench, move it over to the other side. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a new project. You do that in the top left by hitting new. You can see we have the new codewalker project. From here you go to file, go new, and YMap. So this is going to be the YMap we created, the one we are going to work on. That is our own. Already existing YMaps, basically like this entire area in here, you can add those to your project by selecting an object in the world. Like we're gonna select this bench. You can either move it, that's gonna add it to the project itself, or we can select it and we can click on add to project, which we're gonna do in this case. You can see now we have a list of a lot of different entities. This is gonna be the different objects and entities in this area. So in this case, this bench here is gonna be this one. It's gonna be another one, bench 8. We can click on go to. You can see, all right, so that one is located a bit further up. And probably the next one is going to be the one over there, and so on and so forth. So in this case, just for this tutorial, we're just going to take this one and we're going to move it. And the reason we're doing it like this is because instead of just creating a new YMap for something that already exists, we just want to move this one. The same goes if you want to just, you know, delete an object, you select it and you delete it, and then this YMap is going to override the one that already exists, and it's going to be deleted from the world when you stream it. So in this case, we're just going to move this one and just place it somewhere. It's not going to look great, but for, you know, for this part, it's going to be just fine. You know what? It's actually going to go over here and seems to be the most flat place. Now this entire place is actually not even that flat. Let's just move it over here. Move it back and down a little bit. There we go. Oh, we'll just have it here. So, we're just gonna leave that one here. So, like I said, all the changes you do, if you wanna, like, if you wanna move these trees around, you wanna remove the trees, that's all gonna be in the YMap for the existing area. In this case, just to make sure we don't mess anything up, we're just gonna create a YMap for ourselves that we can always just unload or load. So in this case, like I said, we're just gonna create a small barbecue in the middle of this place here. So we're gonna select our YMap, go to YMap and create a new entity. So it's gonna spawn an egg for you. That's gonna be the default entity model that is used. You can see over here, the name of it is the prop alien egg, and the flag is gonna be 32. This is always gonna be the default, same with scale, LED distance, and everything down here. Static object or static entity, which is 32, is just gonna be something that's in the world as a model, and it's not going to be movable. It is going to be like when you collide with it, you're going to stop. Your character is going to stop. But for the cases of something like a set of chairs where you want them to move around, you want to make sure you have the correct flags. So since we're going to make a barbecue, we are just going to make not a copy, and by that we hold shift and select the egg and just drag it, which is going to create a copy. Now we have 3. One is going to be for the barbecue, one is going to be for the table we're going to use, and one is going to be for the chairs. So there's going to be a few websites. I'm going to leave a link for one where you can look up models. What I usually do myself is I go to Tools and go to World Search. In here, we're able to find models by just searching, and then it's going to look through the entire world for a model with this name. So in this case, we're just going to search for barbecue. And it's going to search the entire world, and we're going to get a few results. So I'm just going to select the first one. I'm going to hit go to entity. That means we can inspect what this model is. And in this case, this is the barbecue. And you can see it's called barbecue 4. That means there's most likely 1, 2, 4, if not more. And in this case, I think they go up to 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this one up a bit more, so we get a better view. We're going to select the name of it, right click, copy. Going to select the first egg, going to replace the archetype, the name. Going to select this one again. We're going to fold the C entity div out. I'm going to go for the flags tab here, or the flags box, copy the flags, and just add that to our prop barbecue, flags 32, and there we go. You can see it removes static entity. That means this one is movable, and I know for a fact that if you interact with this, it's gonna either fall over and the top and the bottom is gonna come apart. So you want to make sure that you just go back and look what Rockstar did. So if you use something like this, just check their flags, check everything, just make sure everything kind of seems correct. In this case, we want it to be the same as what they've made, so we're just going to use the same flags as them. All right, next thing is going to be some chairs. Maybe we'll come back for this umbrella. So this one doesn't really have a chair around, so we're gonna go to the next one. This one is not having a chair, so we're gonna go to 1 instead. So this table is not really that fitting, so we're gonna go keep looking for a bit. Alright, we're gonna continue further down the list until we find something that we like. Maybe 5. So, well, this might actually be good. You know, we're gonna have a barbecue with a few other things. So we want to keep in mind that this one has a few details we kind of want. So what we're gonna do is, we already have the barbecue. So we're gonna select this one instead of the table we were gonna use. And instead of looking over here, we're now gonna look over in our selection tab. So this one is called prop parasol 01. And we're gonna copy that. Select our alien egg. Paste that, select it again, fold this one out, go to flags, copy those, select it, and paste. I'm gonna do the same here for this one. Select the name, alien egg, paste, select it again, get the flag, and just paste that. So we also want to add a chair, just for the sake of it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just select that one up here, just copy it, and then we're gonna select one of our props over here, and we're gonna go to. So as you can see, now we have the barbecue, we have the parasol, whatever you call it, and the what's it called, patio lounger. We're just gonna move this down so it fits with the ground. Let's do the same with this one. It's gonna be a fire hazard for sure, but we don't really care. And we're gonna move the chair. So we're gonna select the rotation tool. Just move it around a little bit, make it look all good. Oh, that's not what we wanted. All right, that should be good. All right. So in this case, we still have the name of the chair, so we're gonna make a copy of this one. I'm just gonna remove the or replace the archetype with the chair. And in this case, it's most likely gonna be the same flag, so I'm not gonna do much. If anything, you can go back and just make sure, but we'll just leave it as is. I'm gonna move that over here. No, so this guy is gonna be the guy taking care of the grill, whatever it is. All right. Maybe rotate it a little bit. Same goes for this one, just to make sure, you know, I have a bit of a randomness to it. And that looks, I don't know, it doesn't look great, but it looks decent. In this case, like I said, it's just a basic thing we're making. It all depends on how much time you want to put into it. In cases like this, where it's just like props and then entities, having an LOD of 200 might be a bit much. You might want to play around with it, but we'll see what happens. So when you're done with this, you want to go to your map1.ymap. You want to click on calculate all flags, and you want to click on calculate extents. You want to do this every time you're creating something or changing something, just to make sure that the map or the world knows the location of this. If you don't do it, it's not going to show up in the world because it doesn't actually know that where it's located. It doesn't know that it has to render. So for the LOD, you can see when we start moving out here, at the LOD of 200 is quite a bit. That's all the way up here. So we might want to change that. You can see if we select this one, we set the LOD to like 100. Now it's already gone compared to the rest. So when we get here, it appears. Now it's gone. Again, you want to play around with that. In this case, something like the like this bench here has a LOD distance of -1. It's because it's using a parent LOD. Like I said, it's a way more advanced thing. So we don't want to get too much into detail with that. Some objects have collision boxes, some do not. So if the case is you're using something that does not, you can check by going to options, show collision meshes. And you can see in this case, the things we've added most likely have a collision mesh. Same goes with the bench, because they do not show up over here. But you can see something like this, where these benches are. If we were to remove these benches, there would still be a collision mesh. And the reason for that is that this entire, you see these colors are all in a file by itself. I don't remember the specific name. I mentioned this in the first tutorial, first part. But it's something we're going to come back to when we start messing with interiors. Interiors is not ymaps, it's Y types. So it's a bit different. Ymaps are usually used for outside things, like everything around here. Interiors is something different. We're also going to come back to. So for now, we're just going to focus on this small thing here. Like I said, put time into it. Find objects you want to build something with. You can actually build something really good. I've seen people just make a lot of crazy things. But in this case, we're just going to go with this. So we made sure to calculate flags, calculate extents. We're going to do the same with the one we made changes to, just to make sure. Alright, so there's probably going to be a weird jump cut here, because apparently codewalker is being codewalker, and when I went to save it, it didn't like a different name. So the scene is going to be a bit different, just because I remade it some real quick. You can see the bench is still here. We still have the map 1 and the Y map up there. In this case, I just had these two objects, so if you follow the tutorial, you made somewhat the same thing, just keep it like that. So what we want to do is, just to make sure everything, what I did before is I hit this one to save everything, which is what you usually should do, but in this case, we're just going to select map 1 Y map. We're going to make sure we have calculated all flags and calculated extents, and we're going to hit save. So we'll be saving this specific one. And we're going to save it as tutorial YMap. In this case, like I said, codewalker messed up, did something weird, so it's not the correct one. So we're just going to save over that one. There we go. Alright. So now we should have both of them. Now we can click on save all. Go desktop, go into where we saved it. We should have all three. We have the project file, we have the one we created, and the already existing one. And as you can see, the file size, this one is bigger because that has a lot more entities in it, whereas this one is smaller because that's just the one we have. All right, going back to codewalker, we've now saved these all lowercase. We now go to tools, manifest generator, hit generate. It should already have generated the correct one, but we're just making sure. Click on save manifest, save this the same place as the other things. So now we should have the four files. In this case, we don't need the CV project because that is for codewalker only. Assuming that, like in the last tutorial, I mentioned that I'm leaving a link to a tutorial to set up a FiveM server. Like I said, I'm not going to go over single player mods. This is purely going to be for FiveM streaming. So in this case, if you already have it set up, we should be good to go. If not, pause it, find a tutorial, set everything up. So from here, FX server, CFX server data master, resource, and I created my own folder called whatever. In here, I have a folder called tutorial. And in here we have a resource.lua, which I'm going to show you, and I'm going to leave the snippet of Lua you need in the description, so you can just copy paste it. And we're going to create the streaming folder. And from here, we're going to copy the 3 files, not the project file, and just paste it into our streaming folder. Like I said, underscore resource has to be the file name, underscore resource.lua. That file will contain these 2 lines. I'm, like I said, leaving that in the description. The one specifically we need is this is a map, yes. And then we go to CFX server data master, server.config, right click, edit notepad++. In this case, I already have it from previous attempts. So we're just going to start tutorial, which is the folder. We have our resource.lua and the streaming folder in. like I said, make sure everything is lowercase. FiveM has a tendency to be iffy with upper and lowercase, so start tutorial all lowercase, stream folder name lowercase, the file names lowercase. So just be sure you save the server config. Make sure you save the server Lua. I'm gonna just close the codewalker because it's gonna mess with my frame rate, and then we're gonna start up the server. You want to keep in mind that whenever you make a change, let's say you made something, you checked it out, you want to make a change to it, you have to go into your CFX server data master and you have to delete your cache folder. You have to do this every time, or there can be some scuffiness, so just keep that in mind. So we're just going to fire up the server, start up FiveM. In this case, I have a script I made myself that just fires, like clears the cache, starts the server, and starts FiveM by itself and connects to my server. So we can check in our server, you can see we started the resource tutorial. That means it should be loaded. I have a mod menu I use to fly around. So in your case, if you need something, the Lambda menu, install that, hit F2 for the no clip, and then we can fly over to the area that we made changes to. And you can already see the bench here is missing, which is a good sign, means that our YMap is being loaded. You can see it's right there. Just gonna remove the no clip. You can see that chair over there showing up, and the barbecue. And because we're using the correct flags, you can see we can knock it over. Top is gonna separate from the bottom, and maybe that's the same case with this one. I don't know if this fella wants to get out of it. You can see that it's also a movable object instead of being a static object. So if we went back to check, the bench here might have been a static object, most likely, because that one is not movable, but it is destructible. Again, there's going to be some scuffiness with the LD, but we'll cover that in a later tutorial. So that's basically it. So like I said, if you put your time into it, you can create a lot of good things from just different objects, building everything. I know a lot of people really like to build on top of the biker club, adding gates to the front and all these kind of things, some barbed wire and whatnot. So it's really only limited to your imagination and what you can do with already existing props. Like I said, later on we're going to get into details with custom props and all these things, but for now this is just ymaps, just codewalker, and it's pretty straightforward. So alright, well, see you next time, whenever that might be.